Miss Hickey coming at you a little bit late this week. I'm so sorry, but it's been a crazy week. I call it a bittersweet week, Um, Bitter that we've had more loss in the black community on the heels of such a sweet victory in the Derek Chauvin trial. So, I had to shut it down and think about it and just process, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. Um, Somebody asked me, how did I feel? And I said, well, I'm not sullen, so I'm not, unhappy, but I'm not exactly happy either. I'm glad that, we got a guilty verdict, but it's just the beginning. We got work to do, y'all. We need to make sure that we don't fall back asleep and we get caught up, right? Something really good happens for us, and or something horrible happens, and then they give you a black CEO, they give you a black chief diversity officer, they give us a conviction, and we just lose our minds and lose sight that this is just a drop in the bucket. Somebody on Facebook said that the conviction of Derek Chauvin was like a pimple on an elephant's ass. I had never heard that saying before, but it's true. It's true. It's just the beginning. So I have to tell you, I didn't know what to expect from this trial because, as much as you want it to end up and end in a good way, I think we just naturally, protect our hearts and brace ourselves for the worst. And that's what I guess I was, secretly doing. I didn't watch the trial every day, and I think like the last 2 days, I just was like, I just couldn't. Tried to tune in for the closing arguments, but even that was difficult because that defense attorney just going on for hours and hours, and I'm like, forget this. So I turned the TV off and stopped listening to it. I love court TV because it'll give me snippets at the end of the day, so I will know what happened. But I kind of checked out a bit because it was just too much. And like all of us, we need to protect our own peace of mind and our own sanity. So that's what I was trying to do for the most part. So I knew that the case had gone to the jury for deliberation, and honestly, I expected them to take at least the week. I thought, oh my God, So I was anxious. I was anxious about what to expect. So when they came back, in like less, like what, 10 hours, less than a day's work, or just over a day's work, I should say. That surprised me, but I was happy because I knew in my heart. I put it on Facebook. I sent out text messages. The jury is back and they're going to give us the verdict by 5 p.m. and it's going to be guilty. I knew it was going to be guilty. How? Because it came back quickly, and it was not an all-white jury. If they had come back quickly with an all-white jury, I would have still been concerned because did they believe these people and they just didn't feel like they needed to deliberate? And we've seen that happen time and time and time again, and come back unanimously. But to know it was unanimous, that it didn't take a lot of time, and that there was diversity on the jury, specifically 4 black folks on this jury, I knew that it had to be a guilty verdict because if in fact there was, somebody who was just hell bent on having an acquittal, or if there was some disagreement over any of the counts, they would have been in there fighting it out. Because I just can't imagine that 4 black people were just going to roll over and say, okay, whatever you say. Not that quickly. So when it came back, I knew. But I didn't expect it to be everything. I didn't expect them to find him guilty of all charges. So that was, and I didn't care. I just wanted him to be guilty. So that was icing on the cake for him to be guilty of everything. But I convened an emergency Zoom call. I called it verdict watch. And I don't even know how many people were on the call because some people came in and dropped off, and so throughout, maybe I don't know, maybe 30 people jumped on the call. I'm not sure, but we watched the verdict come out together. So that was interesting. That was interesting. And then, of course, I had to go back and watch it later when I could really, really hear it and listen to it. But then we got into good dialogue after the verdict came out, because everybody, of course, had, their own opinions about what they thought was, needed to happen next, and what the verdict, meant for all of us. But we were definitely, it was a sigh of relief. No question, it was a sigh of relief. So that's one small hurdle behind us. Small hurdle behind us. It's a good victory, but we cannot get complacent. Let's not get too happy. Let's not do the happy dance. Do the happy dance, on that day, because I think if it had turned out any other way, all hell would have broke loose and everybody knew it. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing that the jurors did the right thing. So now it's up to the judge. What will the judge say? Will the judge, what will he sentence him to? And question, George Floyd, oh my God, Derek Chauvin took the fifth and didn't say anything. So I bet he's going to be singing like a bird at his sentencing hearing, trying to save his butt. But I don't think there's any saving him. I'm hopeful that the judge will do the right thing. And if he doesn't, I think there's federal charges waiting for him anyway. So he'll be gone for quite some time. And I have to say, I did get a thrill to see him being taken out of the room in handcuffs. You can't say he looked shocked. I don't know what he was thinking. You couldn't tell. He was just poker face. But to see him be taken out of the room in handcuffs, like all the people, I'm thinking of all the people this man has probably unjustly arrested over the years, and the elation that they must have felt to see him, being treated in the way that he had treated them. And he thought he was invincible. Clearly, if you are brazen enough to be on camera with your knee on somebody's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds with your hand in your pocket, looking a little 9-year-old girl in the face, and seeing all these people telling you this man is dying and you don't care, you thought you were invincible. So I'm sure he's having a hard time tonight, but he should be. So we'll see how many hard nights he gets. Apparently, if he gets the book thrown at him, he will be gone for the rest of his life. I just want to make sure that he's never a cop again. That would satisfy me enough. So yeah, but this is the time that we have to keep pushing for police reform. We need to encourage our legislators to pass the George Floyd Act. We got the Breonna Taylor Act in Kentucky, so anything's possible, right? So we need to keep pushing for that. We need to have them get rid of qualified immunity. Nobody deserves qualified immunity, not cops, not prosecutors, not any government employee. Like, why? Do your job ethically and, right, or pay the consequences that the rest of us in society pay. I heard Congressman Clyburn, oh my God, he was just so on point. He said that we have pastors who can be deflocked or defrocked. What do you guys call it when they get kicked out of the church? And you have lawyers who can be disbarred. But for some reason, cops are just like these invincible people, and as soon as they put on their blue uniform, they're saints. And he questioned that, and that's a legitimate question. Why are we so protective of police officers? There's nothing special about them. They're just people who decide to be cops. And yes, some of them are good cops and they do a really hard job. And yes, we rely on the police to help us. But we can't keep talking about there are some good cops, because if the good cops in Minneapolis, they knew about Derek Chauvin long before last May, and he flourished. Good cops sat by and allowed him to train new officers, as well as the woman cop over in New Brooklyn, in Minnesota, the same thing. So we can't keep giving good cops a pass. Good cops speak up and do something. That's one thing that they can do. We need to put pressure on police unions. The police unions are much too powerful. And they didn't come out in defense of this guy in a public way because they know this was just a lose-lose case. But from what I understand, rumor that they funded his defense, which is not shocking. He is a white cop, and he, did go down. I'm sure he's covered for them in many ways. So this is good that he was just all alone in this thing. Like, no union in the public. None of the boys in blue coming to his defense. As a matter of fact, coming in there testifying against him. And I think what really killed him was the witnesses. That the witnesses were so emotionally affected by this did not serve him well at all. I've never seen witnesses on the stand crying for people that they don't even know, right? They were just so forever affected by this. So I think those things just did him in. And why his attorney kept playing that daggone tape in his closing argument was just crazy to me. Like, he just tortured the jury even more. Like, nobody wanted to see that. So this thing ended up as it should. So we'll see. But again, we got to keep the pressure on. And I say bittersweet because, the bitter part was within hours of his acquittal. I don't know if it was before or after, but on the same day, you had the shooting of Ma'Khia Bryant out in Columbus, Ohio. And that was just a bad situation, and some people are trying to defend that the cops made the decision that they did because, it was a split second and she was charging at someone with a knife and, they had no choice but to shoot. And I recognize it. I don't know what I would do in a split second either. But what I do know that there's a pattern that when cops have to make split second decisions where black folks are concerned, the answer is always too often it's shoot to kill. Shoot to kill. Why aren't you you could have tased her and there were other officers there, and why'd you shoot her 4 times? I don't know. And again, there'll be an investigation. And I think there's going to be 2 sides to that story, but we cannot get around the fact that there's just somehow, I was watching a video that somebody put on Facebook, and I actually blogged about it earlier, where a young white boy was running in the woods for whatever reason. The cops were chasing him. Cop catches up to him. He says, "Are you scared?" "Yeah, man, I'm scared," he says. And the cop says, "Look, I got to put you in handcuffs. You're not in any trouble." Anyway, the young white guy ends up stabbing the police officer in the neck. Okay. Obviously, luckily he didn't hit any, major vein or anything, but he stabs the guy in the neck and takes off running again. The cop is still, able to run. I can't believe he's like chasing this guy, but he's chasing him with his gun out. In the course of chasing him, he literally changes from his gun to his taser. So he doesn't shoot this white guy who just stabbed him like he would an unarmed black guy who maybe rolled his eyes at him, right? He consciously changes weapons and tases this guy until he falls out, falls down on the pathway or whatever, and then he radios for help. And they're very nice to this guy, considering, because if it was a black guy, as soon as they got there, he had stabbed an officer. They would have all beat the crap out of him, and you know it, and I know it. So why couldn't they have used a taser on this young lady? Now, granted, there wasn't time to switch, but if you came out with anything, why are you coming out with a gun? So I don't know. And I'm not a cop. Can't second guess everything. And cops, some of them do the right thing, but I don't know about this one. Don Lemon is of the opinion that the cop did the right thing. I don't. And Sonny Hostin gave lots of examples on The View where they've not made the same decision with white folks. So anyway, it was a hell of a week. But look, I wore this special t-shirt for you guys today. This t-shirt is old as crap. It's February 11th, 1990. It was when Nelson Mandela was released from prison. I remember I was living in D.C., glued to the TV, couldn't wait to see him to come out of, to see him pass those doors, because I thought they were going to kill him as soon as he gets out. And they didn't. He became president. So on a week like this, we have to keep our heroes in mind and know that anything we put our mind to, we can do. Nelson Mandela has proven that to us, and so many others, but we can't lose sight of that. So as I close out, I'll say, have a great week. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Don't go back to sleep. If you're on my call Sunday, we're going to talk about what are our next steps? What do we do now? We don't go back to sleep. So we're going to talk about that. And then on Saturday, if you're on my email list, I am going to be giving a speech speaking at the annual meeting for the League of Women Voters of Camden County in New Jersey to talk about diversity and inclusion. And I'll be focusing mostly on inclusion of Black folks, because we are the voters. So I think that will be an interesting time for me, and hopefully I will pass on some new thoughts, some new knowledge to everybody in the audience. So, okay, I'll see you next week, unless something just inspires me to speak to you sooner. Have a great one. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.